Today we're going to talk about caloric restriction versus intermittent fasting. There's an age-old controversy whether it's better to restrict calories or restrict the time over which you eat them. Basically, conventional dieting versus intermittent fasting. So we're going to talk about both and what's happening in the body with each one. So welcome back to my channel. This channel is dedicated to helping diabetics reverse diabetes naturally without medication, something I've been doing for over 15 years. I'm Dr. Kathy Shaw. I'm a Florida licensed chiropractic physician, PhD researcher, and professor of biochemistry and endocrinology. If you find this video helpful, please share it. Help me reach more people. Share it with anyone that you think might find this information helpful. Also, please subscribe and let me know in the comments what kind of information you want, what you do find helpful in this video, and if you'd like to hear more. So first, let's talk about caloric restriction, traditional dieting, and what happens in the body. So basically what we're talking about is taking in less food. So what's going to happen is the liver is going to ramp up an enzyme called ATP kinase, and it makes you make new mitochondria, kicks off autophagy. Autophagy is a really interesting phenomenon, and what it does is makes you new cells. So the old cells die off, you get these nice new fresh cells. Some of the outward appearance things you see is nicer skin, things like that, and all your tissues are benefiting from that. So that part's all good, but, and there's a big but here, you're going to decrease your leptin. Leptin is such an interesting hormone. It's the only hormone that tells your body that you've eaten enough, push away from the table, get your head out of the refrigerator, and stop. So if you decrease your leptin, you're going to get hungry, or really after a little while, you're going to get hangry. So decreasing leptin is really a big problem in terms of maintaining. Once you're hungry and really, really hungry, you're not interested in maintaining your caloric restriction. The other thing is you're getting weaker. So that's lowering your motivation to keep this going even more. It takes about 24 hours for your leptin to really rock bottom. Now you're hangry. And you go into energy saving mode. So that's what's making you weaker, tired, things like that. So you're not happy on this approach. That's making it much more difficult to sustain also. Then secondly, and this one's huge, we've talked about it before, but not all calories are created equal. Processed foods increase your insulin, increasing your insulin resistance. So that does a couple of things. The insulin resistance makes you make more insulin. Insulin, although it does a lot of good things, has a lot of damaging effects for your tissues. Also, more insulin makes you more resistant, makes you make more insulin, makes you make more, or makes you get more resistant, and so on. So you get into that vicious cycle. So there's problem number 2 with it. Also, processed foods throw your hormones out of whack. You're not getting the fiber that you need to make you feel full, so you want to eat more. That's making it even more unsustainable to keep going with caloric restriction. So caloric restriction, but then the calories you're eating being processed is just a double whammy, shot at you being able to be successful with this. So be very, very careful with the processed foods. So let's talk about a different approach. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about intermittent fasting, and we'll get into what that really means. It's not a hunger strike or anything like that. You're not restricting calories. You're restricting the time over which you consume them. So this is going to give you the same benefits of more mitochondria, the part of the cell that burns the energy. You're going to rev up autophagy again, getting all those nice new cells. But there's a huge, huge difference here, and this is the big thing. you're not going to decrease your leptin as much as you do with caloric restriction. So you're not going to decrease the hormone that says quit eating. So you're going to avoid the hangries, basically. You'll have a small drop in your leptin, but not the huge drop that you have with the caloric restriction. There's also another really big benefit of intermittent fasting. It's going to help your insulin resistance, so you're going to have less insulin. It'll take less insulin to get the job done. The other huge one is you can make ketones. Ketones are huge. Having ketones in your blood will do tons and tons of good things for you. And we're going to talk about it more, but it's everything from weight loss, decreasing your cancer risk, controlling your blood sugar. There's a big one. Speeding up tissue repair, recovery rate, the autophagy we talked about. Decreasing inflammation. Inflammation's thought to be the root of so many things. Helping you tolerate stress. Anti-aging effects. Decreasing your chances of heart disease. Overall, helping you live longer. Big one, improving your memory, improving neurological conditions, improving neuropathy, stuff like that. So the list goes on of all the good things ketones do. So we can decrease the insulin, the need for insulin, decrease the resistance, decrease the damage of the insulin, plus get all these good things from ketones. Many of these things can also happen with unprocessed foods, real foods. So you're going to get the benefit regardless of your eating schedule or plan that way. So, like we said, the insulin sensitivity is a big one. It's a big one for everybody, but particularly for diabetics. One of the reasons we talked about many times is if we can get the overall quantity of insulin you're needing and using down, you're going to avoid the damaging effects of that extra insulin, many of which are the things we think about as the consequences of type 2 diabetes. The other one is kind of interesting. Insulin partially blocks the hypothalamus, so part of your brain, from getting that signal that you are hungry. So if we're blocking some of the hungry signal, that helps you too not eat, and especially not eat the things that you shouldn't be eating. So we're blocking the signal that keeps you from having less leptin. So basically allowing you to have more of that leptin, get your head out of the fridge, push away from the table signal. We want to be sensitive to the insulin and the message that it's sending. To get this effect, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks. So you will see the benefit of not eating processed foods fairly quickly, but this big benefit's really a 3 or 4 week out one. But when you think about it, that's okay. How long have you been eating the processed foods for? So waiting 3 or 4 weeks to really benefit from not doing it probably isn't a huge amount of time in comparison. Another thing that's interesting that happens is we need to get ghrelin. Ghrelin's kind of the hungry hormone under control. Unprocessed foods will do that too. So if we can get the stop eating hormone fired up, the hungry hormone down-regulated, that's huge in so many ways. So that's the difference between caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about both of them, particularly intermittent fasting, more in other videos. So in the comments, let me know what approach works for you. What intermittent fasting schedule do you use? Do you like? What results have you gotten from that? Also, if you found the video helpful, please hit the subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video.